Perfect Dan here today with another episode of Star Wars Alternate History, and the picture on the screen is the second Death Star. So, today's question, which you can probably guess, is what if the second Death Star wasn't destroyed? Now, it's pretty obvious. It's not destroyed, the rebellions don't do what, but what are the specifics? So first thing off, as much of the rebellion fleet is going to likely be destroyed, it's really how much of it depends on when they retreat. And when they retreat will likely be dependent on the forces on the ground. If the forces on the ground happen to get a message out saying that they wouldn't be able to destroy it after they were captured by the Imperials, they would likely go ahead and retreat. This is really all a question of how much, but let's not give them specifics. Let's just assume that at least 75% of the Rebel fleet, which is a majority of the Rebel fleet in the galaxy, is destroyed. This is going to take a while to rebuild the rebellion because many of the key leaders were killed off in the battle, and so the Empire is going to continue on, and due to the Death Star still being there, it's going to be much harder to rebuild a rebellion or even form one if if the old rebellion is completely destroyed by the Empire. So, the next thing is pretty obvious: is the Death Star is going to be finished, and again, this means the roots of rebellion is going to be harder to form because the purpose of the Death Star is for them to be able to take it to a rebel planet or a planet that has risen up against them and destroy it. So let's say in episode 4, that's exactly what was going on, is they were going to destroy a rebel planet, which was Yavin 4. Luckily, this wasn't a civilian planet, but they did destroy Alderaan, which likely was an a peaceful rebel planet due to its leaders hating the Empire. Next thing is, Luke is going to be captured. Now, if there is no wreckage going on, maybe Darth Sidious was killed, maybe he wasn't. That's not the question going to be here. Luke is likely going to be captured unless he somehow fights his way off, but I'm going to assume Darth Sidious wasn't killed because there wasn't so much mayhem going on. And so there's three options here. Luke will either be turned to the dark side, which we would all hope wouldn't actually happen. Luke will have been killed because he wasn't turned to the dark side, or he will have been captured and put in imprisonment until he turned to the dark side, but likely wouldn't turn to the dark side. This also means that Luke can't rekindle the Jedi Order. Luke is the seed for the new Jedi Order that's supposed to continue on. Now there are a few other old Jedi that may even have their own apprentices out there. I don't know of any personally. I don't think there really were any that were super active anymore that would have tried to rekindle the Jedi Order. So Luke was really the last hope. And this means the Jedi practically are extinct until someone discovers the power on their own. Which means if any new rebellions formed, they wouldn't have the expertise of a Jedi on their side. Next thing we have to go to is Leia and Han. Leia and Han would likely both be executed. When Han is executed is more questionable as compared to Leia. If I had to have a best guess, is they would execute Leia in front of a crowd on Coruscant because Leia was such a public figure. It would be a huge advantage to the Empire when they captured her to execute her in front of a crowd. The reason is Leia is a well-known public figure that is against the rebellion. She has been against it since the very start. She was a senator for a year in the Imperial Senate before the Imperial Senate was dismantled, and she was also known to go against Vader. She had been on quite a few diplomatic missions for the rebels, so she was a figure, public head figure, that if killed would tighten the Empire's grip for at least a year, especially on planets like Coruscant and against any Alderaanian people. And so it would likely also be executed, but probably more just on the spot or even killed off in the midst of battle. But if any Imperials recognized Leia, she would have been captured instead of being killed in battle. At least that's what I would think. Next we have to do is look at what the Death Star would be used for. Now we don't know what planets the Death Star would destroy, but we have to realize that it is likely before this Death Star would possibly be destroyed, which it may not even be destroyed, but if it were, several planets would likely be killed in the long run due to uprisings. Because with such a tight Imperial grip, there's going to be a couple of uprisings, which means there's going to be a couple planets destroyed. Also, this means Imperial grip tightens as no one wants to die in a couple seconds without warning. Next thing, let's go back to Rebellion Fleet. The few that do escape are going to rejoin with previous, but they're not going to be such a strong force. They're likely going to be in the background. They're going to be kind of like the Imperial warlords we see in books, but nowhere close as strong as them. And they're just going to kind of do hit-and runs against the Empire until they're killed off or have been able to reform actual rebellion that can take it down. The first thing they're going to have to do is destroy the Death Star and any other super weapons that they just come up with. The rest of the rebel forces on Endor during the battle are going to be killed, as they're compared to Han and Leia, because they aren't really important forces, or they could be captured. But as I said again, none of them were really that. Those ones were not really that important, so there's going to be no reason to keep them around. At least that's what I would do if I were the Empire. The other thing is, the Empire is known for hating non-humans, especially ones that are against them. This means the Ewoks are likely going to be hunted down until they have finished the Death Star. And then by that point, because there's going to be Ewoks that weren't in the area, but they know they're likely going to be rowdy against them, they may even destroy Endor itself. They may not. That part is questionable. But they're definitely going to hunt down the local tribes of Ewoks that were around the area of the shield. Next thing is a expanded universe point. There's going to be no formation of Imperial warlords or revelations of great admirals such as Thrawn to be revealed, because these only came up because the fact that the majority of, or the strong Imperial forces that were put together and its head leader were defeated in battle. But let's say Darth Vader didn't turn to the dark side, something like that. In this fleet, these were the best of the best Imperial leaders, and any one of them could have easily taken the spot over the Empire, such as Admiral Piet could have ended up being one of them, or Moff Gerard. I think I pronounced that right. Anyways, there's going to be no need for Imperial warlords anymore. There's no formation of them, and therefore the galaxy is in less disorder, and the Empire still maintains its grip. Question of who its leader still question was. I didn't really say that Luke wouldn't be turned to the dark side, but that's one of those mean that Luke wouldn't have still gotten in that brawl with them, but it may not have happened, it may have. But this is what would have likely occurred if the second Death Star was destroyed. So if any of you guys have any opinions on that, let me know. Tell me in the comments below. And this is Minecraft and AI signing out. See you guys later.